Welcome to History Stories Dose, one story 10 parts, subscribe now.
Look at this map. By the late 13th century, the descendants of Genghis Khan controlled a single territory stretching from the shores of China across the Russian steppes straight through to the Middle East. It remains the largest contiguous land empire in human history. This medieval illustration highlights what that scale made possible. With one authority policing the routes, merchants and camel caravans could travel thousands of miles safely. Ideas and goods flowed across Eurasia with an ease that had never been seen before. But a territory this massive hides a geographical trap. In an era where the fastest message traveled by horseback, a ruler in the capital simply could not respond quickly to a crisis on the other side of the continent. So how does an invincible military force that successfully connected half the globe end up fracturing and fading away? No foreign army defeated the unified Mongols. Instead, the administration suffered a massive scalability crisis. The empire grew far larger than its operating system could handle. The first fatal flaw was built right into their politics. Mongol tradition required leadership to be earned. When a ruler died, power did not automatically pass to his eldest son. Instead, powerful family members competed for the throne. This competitive tradition guaranteed political instability. After the death of Mongol Khan in 1259, fierce succession disputes plunged the ruling family into civil war. The physical result was a fractured map, permanently splitting into 4 states: the Yuan dynasty, the Golden Horde, the Chagatai Khanate, and the Il Khanate. Despite their shared heritage, leaders prioritized their own borders. Cooperation ceased, and factions began actively fighting each other. A succession model that perfectly motivated small nomadic tribes on the steppe became a mechanism for endless civil war in a sprawling, settled state. Down on the ground, a demographic problem was emerging. Look at the Yuan dynasty under Kublai Khan. The ruling Mongols were a tiny foreign minority attempting to govern tens of millions of Chinese citizens. The locals initially accepted Mongol authority because of overwhelming military force. But as decades passed, native scholars and government officials deeply resented answering to a foreign elite. That resentment boiled over when the economy faltered. The government burdened the population with heavy taxes, right as devastating floods and famines swept across the countryside, erasing whatever public confidence remained. Desperate peasants and dissatisfied local leaders began banding together, forming a massive resistance movement known as the Red Turban Rebellion. The Yuan government, weakened by its own court politics, couldn't stop them. In 1368, rebel leader Zhu Yuanzhang captured the capital, forced the remaining Mongols to flee north, and established the Ming dynasty. Mobile archers are incredibly effective at invading a nation, but brutal military force offers no solutions for agricultural disasters, crushing civil taxation, or an angry, massive population. For centuries, that military force had been nearly invincible. Mongol dominance relied entirely on immense, highly mobile cavalry armies sweeping across the terrain. But military technology evolved. Defending armies began improving their stone fortifications and deploying gunpowder weapons like this early iron cannon. We can see this shift clearly in Russia. For generations, the Golden Horde dominated the region by forcing local Russian princes to pay tribute. As defensive technology and military tactics modernized, those princes gained leverage. The city of Moscow, seen here in this later historical photograph of the Kremlin, grew increasingly independent. This rising institutional power culminated in 1380, when Russian forces secured a major symbolic victory at the Battle of Kulikovo. The specialized speed of the nomadic archer steadily lost its bite against fortified walls and explosive artillery. Without their military edge and crippled by civil war, the unified empire faded. By the 15th century, the Il Khanate had collapsed entirely, the Chagatai Khanate splintered, and the Golden Horde lost its grip on Russia. Yet the Mongols themselves did not vanish. Many of their descendants remained in the regions they conquered, adopting local customs and blending into the populations they once ruled. They left behind a completely different world. Their conquests had redrawn political boundaries across Asia and Europe, permanently modernized military tactics, and heavily expanded trade routes. The unified Mongol state fell apart, but the sheer violence and scale of its expansion forced isolated continents to interact, laying the brutal groundwork for a connected, globalized world.
To be continued in Part 10.